So, like I said, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ottimate's webinar series. I'm here today with some special guests. We'll introduce them in just a moment, but we're here to talk about the hidden costs behind the front desk. So, if that's what you were looking for, you're in the right place. We are going to be talking with our customers at Colwen Hotels today, talking about how they fix their manual AP process for their hotel group. Before we get started, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items. So, as you all well know, in a webinar format, we love questions. We're going to save those until the end. So, after you drop in the number of inches of snow outside your window, please feel free to drop in some questions throughout the session, and we will do our best to address them at the end. If we run out of time, we will certainly follow up and make sure you get answers to your questions from the group. Separately, let's please make sure everybody is muted and so we don't get any background noise. And then also, put your pencils down. We're going to send a recording afterwards, so no need really to take notes. You'll have access to the information that we will be covering following the webinar. So now let's introduce the speakers we have brought to you today. I'll kick things off by talking about introducing myself. So I'm Kara Dion. I lead all customer experience teams here at Ottimate. And in addition to that, I've spent the last 10 years working in B2B SaaS and most specifically fintech. So what that means for all of you is I have spent a lot of time partnering and working with customers in the finance organization. It's been a real blessing for me to have so many different customers and so many different customer interactions during my time and experience, and looking forward to sharing some of my insights with you, as well as the insights that will be offered by our speakers. So I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie to introduce herself first, and then Ryan as well. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Thanks, Kara. My name is Stephanie Shea-Estabrook. I am the AP manager here at Colwen Hotels. I've been in hotels for about 14 years, but I've had the pleasure of working for Colwen for the last 9. And I actually did learn how to do AP at the property level, so it has for Colwen. So it's been really impactful at the corporate level as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Jones. I'm the purchasing manager here at Colwen Hotels. I oversee the day-to-day operations, purchasing with the vendor relations, and I have been here at Colwen for almost 4 years now.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Ryan and Stephanie, for giving our audience just a bit of a taste of your background and your experience. So let's get started with today's conversation. So before I hand it over to Stephanie to kind of ground us briefly in your business, I hope that you can kind of set the stage for the folks in the audience on not just the background around Colwen Hotels, but also some key metrics that have been driving your AP automation kind of transformation for Colwen Hotels.
Sure. So, Colwen Hotels is a pretty extensive portfolio. We range from Vermont to Miami, Florida. Simply on the East Coast, we're enjoying a lovely a white February, certainly. We range from full service to select serve. We have some higher end hotels and more family oriented in the urban areas as well. So in Ottimate, we have 45 locations. We are slated to add a couple more this year to our portfolio and to Ottimate as well. Some of the metrics that you're going to see on this slide is we're very proud of. The number of invoices that we processed last year are a combination of drag and drop invoices. It could be vendor emails. We use EDI extensively here, so that's really helpful. But really what we're most proud of is the number of users that are in the system as well. We have a lot of department heads that use it on site. All the GMs have access, but certainly the vendor mapping and the coding is key here. So that's really what we were striving for. And so we implemented about 3 years ago, and we're really, really proud of these numbers that are showing on the slide right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie, for grounding us here, not just in your business, but also some of the metrics and the results that have had such a positive impact on your business. I think that that's a great segue or to talk about what your life was like before Automate. So, what was some of the business challenges that you and Ryan were experiencing on your end? If you could walk us through, maybe divvy them up and tell us a little bit more about some of those challenges.
Sure, I'll start. I'll go over the scavenger hunt and the strain partnerships. Before AP automation, we were stuck in a nonstop scavenger hunt for invoices. One of our properties is on an island and orders have to go over by boat. And by the time the delivery makes it across, the driver could have left the invoice at the ferry terminal, it could have flown off at the loading dock, and half the time it never makes it across. That created real challenges. From the vendor standpoint, it looked like we weren't paying invoices on time, when in reality, we just lost the invoices or they were sitting in a drawer or left at the dock. It put unnecessary strain on our partnerships we work hard to maintain. So we've definitely, you know, bridged the gap there.
Nice, nice. I like that story, and I am picturing that invoice in the water. Stephanie, how about you?
So for the information silos, before we implemented AP automation, each hotel was specifically set up as one unit. So we really didn't have centralized visuals on each location. And given how many hotels we do have in our portfolio, that it's not as efficient with our time, right? So it really was all the vendors were held at the hotel level. All the invoices were held there as well, and it was very disconnected. um, the locations weren't really able to share data or bounce information off of one another. It greatly impacted reporting. We would have to run a lot of outside reports and use Excel and kind of match everything up. But since we've centralized and we've used Automate, we have like our dashboard, we can see all of our locations at one time. We have one vendor record, and it's so simple to add a location as well. It takes one email, and then it's there, and they have their chart of accounts, they have their vendors there. We just have to map them as the invoices come in. We now also have a much better, like Rye touched on, a much better relationship with a lot of our vendors. It's not so much us running around and, calling to try and find invoices. And we're able to focus a little bit better on how we could grow within their business. And the creative accounting aspect, I think that's kind of a nightmare for a lot of people, whether in AP or not. You really want things to go where they're supposed to go, right? It takes the guesswork out of the situation. And as far as coming up in the hotels like I did, it's a lot easier, it's user friendly. And you don't have to have a degree in accounting in order to do AP, especially with automation. So it does kind of free you up to really fully absorb the process and not stress over, did I code this invoice right? Is it going to affect the P&L? We're able to really get in there and make sure everything is where it should be.
Excellent. Excellent. These are great points, and my guess is they're pretty relatable to some of the folks in the audience who maybe haven't had the ability to automate their AP just yet, because I think that these are some really common challenges that many of our customers were experiencing prior to automation. All right, so before we continue with more details on the conversation with Colwen and the impact to their business, I just wanted to share a couple of key points from my perspective on where I think AP fits within the organization. As I mentioned before, I have many years of experience and have sat across the table from many different customers, and most specifically in finance. And I really wanted to relay what I think is an important perspective on AP in businesses. So, from my perspective, I really see the AP world as being that connective tissue between operations, finance, and the vendors. So, I just wanted to kind of cover off on that connectivity and how it really plays a key role in the larger business, going over these 3 points. So, the first one is AP is really at the center of a business's financial and operational health. They're not just paying the bills, and I think that that's part of the perception, although I don't believe it is the reality. These teams are having frequent and critical interactions between businesses and suppliers that help keep the operation running on a regular basis. So when AP is automated in the finance organization, managers or GMs are spending less time on data entry and more time on insights similar to what Stephanie shared at the beginning of our conversation that help drive business outcomes in real time and have a major impact on the overall business. As Ryan will talk about, the second point is really strengthening the vendor ecosystem. In B2B, your reputation matters with your vendors, and how you pay and how you partner with them make a big difference. So imagine a life with fewer late payments and fewer lost invoices in the ocean when you have automation in play, for example, and without chasing paper around the organization or in a filing cabinet or off a loading dock. And then lastly, in this day and age, we need to be so mindful around risk and fraud mitigation, right? There's so much unfortunate fraud that's going on in B2B, for example. So as Stephanie talked about, that whole notion of having silos and areas in different separate parts really resonated with me because when you consolidate AP into a single platform, you're creating those reliable audit trails. You're experiencing fewer duplicate payments because the system is weeding those duplicate payments out. And it's helping with price discrepancies that maybe some humans can miss. With the advent of technology as well as AI, for example, it really helps to bubble up and point out some of these items that can be missed by humans, and it's just part of the overall advantage of automating your AP. So while I've shared some of my perspectives here, I'd really like to turn it back to the Colwen team and let's talk about some of the transformative elements that have been realized by your business. Ryan, let's start with you.
So the biggest transformation for us was moving from chasing invoices to finally having the time to focus on strategic work. Instead of spending hours tracking down lost invoices, we can now concentrate on accuracy, verify pricing, monitoring ordering patterns, and identifying savings opportunities. The reporting tools have also been a big help for us as well. With a centralized view, we can compare spend across all properties instantly, something we could not do before. If I want to drill down into a single property or see how much we're spending with a specific vendor across the portfolio, I can now run that report in seconds. And on the next slide, Stephanie will talk more about the reporting features as well.
Yeah, so to touch on the reporting, we use reporting quite often here at the corporate office. We especially use the workflow reports just to see where we could be more efficient with our time. Maybe there's some issues getting the invoices in the system. Sometimes there are limitations depending on what the file type is. There's also a good aspect of that report as well because it kind of lets us know here who might need some extra support. And that's really what my team strives for. Anything we can do to give the GMs more time back in their day so they can spend with their guests, we're more than willing to do. The code once feature was key during our implementation. We actually had a group of pilot GMs on board that helped us code invoices and give us kind of a head start for a lot of the other hotels. The automated statements, I've said this before, it's life-changing. Rather than chasing invoices, emails, phone calls, you just send an email from the system, it goes to the vendor, and the vendor sends the invoice back in the system. So there's no this back and forth. I missed their call, they don't know where to send it. We also use EDI invoicing, which again has given us a lot more time back in our days. And then the centralized view. We have so many locations that it really is difficult to be everywhere at one time. But with AP automation, we are able to see when an anomaly, pops up, this looks a little weird. Let's take another look at it. And that could be something that would have slipped through the cracks when we were all decentralized before.
Awesome, awesome. I imagine how much time we could add up if we're not chasing paper, invoices, people, emails, phone calls, voicemails, right? I feel like that's kind of the theme here is no more running around and you're getting the access, you're getting the insights you're looking for in a single location. So, what a time saver there. And I love the concept of no more chasing. Uh, so as I like to say, once you start transforming your business, why stop with AP, for example? So I'd love to touch on, Ryan, we can start with you, some of the areas where you see opportunities for greater growth and most importantly, scalability in terms of how it will help you continue to grow as a business, but scale operationally.
Yeah, so as we continue to grow, the integrations between our AP automation, our GPOs, and our inventory systems, they're essential. Real-time pricing ensures we're always paying the correct contracted price, and seamless data flow means we can scale without adding manual workload. These tools help us protect margins, maintain consistency across properties, and support the business as new hotels come online. So we partner with a specific GPO right now that there's an integration built with, and the invoices and all the pricing flow back and forth. And we're working with inventory systems, and it's the same process. And it definitely helps having those integration and those feeds already built, continue the partnership.
Great, great. Stephanie?
So the spend management module is one of our key goals for this year. Again, going back to what are we doing manually that we could automate. It'll save time here, it'll save time at the hotels, it'll streamline the process. So that was our number one goal this year that we're hoping to accomplish. Um, the partner access is really handy for us as well. We deal with a lot of consultants that help us get the correct contracts, the right pricing. And with AP automation, we're able to give them access to the system, to the vendors that they need with view only access. And again, that's saving an email, searching for files, downloading PDFs and sending them, back and forth. So that has really helped. They can go in anytime they want and see what they need. And then the full life cycle of the invoice, that's really another goal that we have. It's always been on our goal board. How can we alleviate so many sign-ins, so many passwords, and just have one workflow, right? The invoice goes in, it gets coded, it gets posted, and then payment goes out. So that's always been on our radar, and we're hoping that sometime soon we can find a solution through Ottimate that will help us accomplish that.
Well, I hope so too, and I know that we have something to address that in our payment automation model. Uh, all right. Well, I think it would be useful for our audience if each of you could pick, now I've sort of spoiled it, but Ryan, each of you could pick the one must-have that you would recommend to an organization that is implementing AP automation.
It's the EDI, having that feed built with the vendors. Invoices come straight from the vendors into the system. No paper, no middle steps, no guessing. It's a reliable, constant flow of information. It's so seamless. It's such a time saver as well. It's taken a lot of friction out of the partnerships we have and helped us build more trust with the vendors moving forward. And the vendors that we have rolled this out with, they're very happy that this is in place. It saves them a lot of time as well.
Awesome. And I think that goes back to the point I made earlier about strengthening those vendor and partner relationships.
Mhm.
So when you set up this automation in place and things are just flowing back and forth, you can have better, more partner-like conversations, right?
Yes.
Stephanie?
So my must-have is the approval policies. Before, like I said, I'm going to use the word again, a silo situation. The GMs are there. They're running their business, right? And with the approval policies, we're able to take that like daunting task of oh, I got to do my AP. This is gonna, take a lot of time. Scanning images, coding, approving. I forgot to add the image. Now payment's not going to go out on time. Things like that. So approval policies is key for us. We have so many moving parts throughout the hotel. And it does give the power back to the department heads, right? They know what they ordered, they know what they need. And so this way, the GM's burden is lessened a little bit, where they're empowering their staff to cover their departments. They're also learning along the way too. It might be something that they've never experienced before, and it's a great learning opportunity to do AP. But it really has improved being able to visually see what we have in the system, and again, saving the GM's time throughout their day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, I'm sure that the GMs are appreciating like that streamlined experience for them. So to your point, they can go back to focusing on the job they were hired for, which is working and accommodating the guests at the hotels. So great stuff. Alrighty. Well, I feel like we have imparted some good information and maybe some insights to our audience today. So I'd love to open it up. I'm checking the time here. We do have time for a couple of questions. So I'm going to, oh, now I can see how warm it is where people are dialing in from, and nobody's really talking about talking too much about snow. Okay, so first question, I just wanted to, I'll open it up to both you, Stephanie, and Ryan. So tell me a little bit about, the question here is about change management. So, what kind of change management were you implementing, or did you need to implement across your teams to get everybody using and adopting the AP automation system with Automate?
So I think at first it was pretty scary, right? Change is always scary. But once we explained it's going to save time, it's going to be a great improvement from the manual process that we have now. And I think everyone was really on board, right? We grow every year, and we really needed a process that could grow with us. And, once we said that it's automated, we're getting, to the digital age, everyone was really on board. And the way that we set it up, we kind of eased into it with those pilot GMs. So it wasn't every hotel having to code all of their invoices for the first time themselves. It really was just the newer items. So I think that also lessened the burden on people who are just familiarizing themselves with automation. But all in all, everyone had a great experience with it. I don't think we really had any pushback on it. And like I said, it was a really positive experience, and it definitely was time for us to move to automation.
All right, awesome. Yeah, and I do really like I guess I call it the crawl, the walk, the run, right? Like starting with that subset of you called them pilot GMs, dare I
Mhm.
say like guinea pigs, right? A good group of folks in a cohort that are ready for change and ready to roll up their sleeves and help out so everybody can benefit from the work that they do to help, manage through the kinks, for example, ask good questions so you can kind of have a smoother rollout. So, good question. So, for anyone, next question, for anyone that is considering a move to AP automation, what advice would you give to them before they venture into this process?
I would say definitely start with the test GMs or the test locations. But once you realize the time saver that this is and how it, not to make a pun on words, but automates the system for you and it streamlines the process, it's a must-have. I think once anyone starts the process and sees, how it goes and the rollout process, it's just going to flow right through.
Yeah, and I think it's if you just take a look throughout your day, and anything that's causing you to go, you know, how could that how could that be lessened, right? We all have the same 24 hours within our day, and I think if you can get some of that time back to do other things, then definitely look into it.
Great advice. Great advice. All right. Well, we're gonna pause on the questions for now because I want to make sure I have a couple things left I wanted to share with the group. And please let me also thank Ryan and Stephanie for joining us today. Hot off the presses, this was released. We want to make sure all of our attendees have a copy of our newly released, it was released this morning, white paper on the state of AP maturity in 2026. So, a good kind of thoughtful piece on is your AP automation really working today, if you have it in place? So where we're looking, where the information that's delivered in this report is from 200 plus finance leaders, revealing what teams are getting right in AP automation, but also where they're struggling. And how to unify that approach to AP automation is key when closing the gaps. Just a little teaser, some of the research that is revealed in this report. Half the teams are finding that they have unsustainable workloads, and most are relying on fragmented automation today and struggling with limited visibility across the organization. So, I think some very relatable points that we heard from Stephanie and Ryan during our conversation today. If you see the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of our page, you can scan that with your iPhone. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we'll be also sharing a copy of this, and the QR code will be available in there, and you can download a copy for yourself. And again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who took the time to join us this afternoon. And again, a special thanks to our partner and customer, Colwen Hotels, Ryan and Stephanie. So thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
Karen.
us.